Hello and welcome back to Miranda Reads the International Booker Long List. Oh, it's done. Well, I say it's done, I mean the International Booker is done, not me reading the long list is done. Well, it is. I haven't finished it, but it's done. Anyway, so a couple of months ago-ish, I don't know, end of March, I think, I decided that I was going to read the entire International Book Along list before the winner was announced. The winner was announced yesterday. I have read 9 out of 13 books. Well, I finished 8. That's where we're at. I don't feel any shame. I'm happy with this. It's fine. But today, given that the winner was announced yesterday, I just want to talk about the books that I haven't reviewed yet, but I have read, the books that I haven't read and why I'm not reading them, and my general thoughts on the long list, the short list, the winner, this overall experience that I've had reading these books, and that's it really. This is just a video to put a lid on everything and catch up. So I can move on to other things. So the 8 books that I have read are, see if I can remember them all: Stillborn, Pyre, While We Were Dreaming, The Birthday Party, Boulder, Standing Heavy, The Gospel According to the New World, and Is Mother Dead? So I had very, very mixed experiences with all of these. Some I loved, some I really did not like at all, and some were very, very middle of the road. Most of the ones that I haven't reviewed, I felt very middle of the road about and didn't have that many thoughts, which is mostly why I didn't end up posting reviews for them. I'm going to go in chronological order of when I read them because that makes sense to me and hopefully I'll keep track. So first is While We Were Dreaming by Clemens, Meyer, translated from German by Katy, Derbyshire. So this one is, I'm going to try and keep this really brief. It's probably not going to work. Bear with me. Basically, this is about a group of boys, teenagers / young men in Germany, East Germany to start off with, in Leipzig, in the lead up to and then the years following the fall of the Berlin Wall. And it kind of, explores how the fall of the Berlin Wall kind of impacted their lives or didn't impact it most of the time. Things sort of carried on as normal, but also how it kind of contributed to them growing up from these kind of, idealistic almost children, and starting off very innocent to becoming very troubled men. In many cases, they spend time in prison, they struggle with addiction and all sorts of different things. What I really loved about this book was how you don't follow the group of boys / men as they become in a linear narrative. The time that you're in jumps about all over the place, and a lot of the time you're following 2 parallel timelines pretty much at once, which is done beautifully in some places, and it makes it so poignant at times. However, I did think this was way too long. I think it could have achieved the same thing with a lot less words, but the writing is really beautiful in places and I was never bored. It was just good, but I think it could have been shorter. So I didn't love it, but I loved parts of it. Then I read Stillborn by Guadelupe Nettel, translated from Spanish by Rosalind Harvey. This is one that I was convinced I was going to love because almost everyone that I could see was loving it. And I did not like it as much as I thought I would. So this follows a woman in her maybe 30s who doesn't want children. She has a very close friend who also doesn't want children until she does, and then she becomes pregnant, but she is told that her child will die on being born, basically, and then this isn't really a spoiler. I feel like basically the child doesn't die, but they are left with having to adapt to living with a very ill and disabled daughter. However, they were prepared to not be living with a daughter at all, and had kind of come to terms with that. So you follow this friend and her kind of life adapting to this situation, and all of the kind of journey that she goes down. And alongside this, the narrator is also sort of becoming friends with her next door neighbour and her son, who is kind of problematic in his behaviour and causes kind of trouble for the narrator's next door neighbour, and it follows kind of how the narrator becomes part of their sort of family in a sense. So you have these two narratives running alongside each other, and of course they're both about motherhood and all the kind of different situations that arise from it, and what it kind of means to want a child. And I didn't find that any of it was particularly deeply explored. It didn't really leave me with anything, and I can't remember much of it now. I only read it about a few weeks ago. I can't remember much of it. I just left feeling unsatisfied, and I don't quite know why. Then I read Pyre by Perumal Murugan, translated from Tamil by Aniruddhan, Vasudevan. This was interesting, and I quite liked it, but I didn't love it. Again, it's a quite short novel about two young people who fall in love, and you start off with them having just got married and moving back to the husband's hometown, which is a very small village, and he is expecting his village to accept his new wife, who is an outsider and from a different caste, because he loves her, and they then do not do this, and it kind of follows their sort of journey trying to be accepted by his family, and failing. I really like this. I think it brings a lot of light to the seriousness and kind of deep-seatedness of caste violence in India, and also how the kind of attitudes towards caste can change, or not change, but vary from in different places, and what it can mean to different people. What I found interesting about this was that it's never really clear why the villagers and the husband's family hate his wife so much, or hate the fact that he has married her. They just don't like that she's an outsider, and they don't like that she's from a different caste, and that's all you really get. There's no kind of like deeper explanation, and I think this is deliberate. Like, it's not, they never rationalize it to themselves. It's mostly about how the fact that he has brought shame upon the family, and he has disregarded their kind of advice and upbringing, and has brought an outsider into the midst of this village. Hello, I'm just editing this, and I realised that I did not explain what I thought very well. Basically, they don't say, like, oh, we don't like her, she is an outsider, we don't like outsiders because it is bad that you have married an outsider, because it's just that she is not one of them and she comes from a different place. That is reason enough for them to hate her so much and ostracise both of the people in this couple. They don't ever kind of give any tangible reason for why it's such a bad thing that he has married her. And this is deliberate. because, you know, there is no real reason and they would not be able to rationalise it. And I think it kind of demonstrates how deep-seated and complicated the issues around caste are. That's all. Because caste in India is so wildly complicated and just very complicated, and I think it was interesting to explore it in this novel, which is very simple, really. It's about two people who are very young, very in love, and assume that everything will be okay, and then people who oppose them. And that's there's not much more to it than that. I think exploring complexity in such a simple narrative is quite powerful. However, even though it is short and it is simple, I think that it could have either been a bit shorter or really delved deeper into the characters and their pasts, and just I had more questions, and I think it could have either maintained its simplicity and been a bit shorter, or maintained its length and delved a bit deeper, and I think that would have made it a bit more satisfying for me. I just realised this is one of the only ones I have a physical copy of, and I wasn't holding it up this entire time like I normally do because I'm so used to not having a physical copy of it. So yeah, thank you, Kieran, for sending this to me. I enjoyed it and it was good. Let's talk about the books that I didn't read. The books that I am not going to read. Those include another one of the books that I have a physical copy of, A System So Magnificent It Is Blinding, by Amanda Svensson, translated by, let me check, Nichola Smalley from Swedish. I was interested in this originally. It's got very meh reviews. Not sure if I will ever give it a try. Ninth Building by Jingzhi, translated from Chinese by Jeremy Tiang. Again, this is one that I was actually very interested in to start with, but nobody seems to be particularly enamoured with it, so I'm not rushing to get to it. There's also Jimi Hendrix Live in Lviv by Andrey Kurkov, translated by Ruben Woolley. Again, one that I'm not particularly interested in, and nobody seems to like it particularly. Like, no, I haven't seen anyone raving about it, so it's going by the wayside. I forgot to mention I am currently reading Whale by Myeong-kwan, translated from Korean by Chiyoung Kim, and I actually quite like it. I'm going to finish that one. I'm about a third of the way through, and I actually quite like it, so I will finish that. And then, of course, there is the winner, which is Time Shelter by Georgi Gospodinov, translated from Bulgarian by Angela Rodel. This is the only book on this long list / shortlist that I started and gave up on, because I got about, I don't know, 30-ish pages in and I was bored, and I thought, life is too short. I am completely bored out of my mind by this book. I cannot be bothered to finish it, but I will read all of the others on the shortlist. And then it won. And I'm not going to go back to it because I still don't care. It won. I'm happy for them. From Georgi's acceptance speech, he seems like a very nice guy. I don't care about the book. I'm sorry. If there are any Time Shelter diehard fans out there, I am sorry, but I will not be reading it. So ultimately, this was kind of a bit of a failed project, but I really don't mind because I read some really good books and some deeply underwhelming ones, and almost without fail, the ones that I love most from this long list did not get shortlisted. The ones that I loved the most were The Birthday Party and Is Mother Dead. Boulder is the only one that I really loved that made the shortlist. I like Whale so far, but Time Shelter, Standing Heavy and The Gospel According to the New World were all deeply underwhelming to me. So much so that I stopped reading Time Shelter, and I have reviews up on my channel about how much I disliked Stunning Heavy and The Gospel. I said I was going to read the entire long list. I kept trying, but this is where that journey comes to an end. But I am still really happy that I did this. It served its purpose, which was getting me out of a reading slump. I read so much in the last few weeks because I've also been reading for the BookTube Prize. So I read, in amongst all of this International Booker Prize reading, I also read 6 BookTube Prize books. So I've read more in the last 2 months than I did before that. I don't know the numbers exactly, but I've read a lot. And I'm happy about that. And I enjoyed reading, even if I didn't love the books, I enjoyed reading them and thinking about them and talking about them. And that was really valuable. So, you know, even though Standing Heavy and Gospel filled me with rage and frustration, I still really enjoyed expressing that rage and frustration. I don't know if I'll ever try and read a long list again. Who knows? It's fun to have a list. It's fun to read things while other people are reading things. But my TBR is way neglected right now, so I need to get back to that as soon as possible. So thank you very much for watching my International Book Along List 2023 escapades. Thank you very much for joining me, and long live the excitement about reading that has been reborn.